Jack, we met a few years ago. We met at a progressive property 1 day, 2 day event thing. And one of the things that I remember you telling me, which stuck in my mind, it's no secret, I don't think you've held back on it, is that your first deal you lost money.
Yeah.
So tell us.
It was actually the second deal, but yeah.
The second deal.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about that, because I think many people are scared to get involved in property or in any investment because they're going to lose money. And it's obviously happened to you very early, and it didn't really put you off. You found your way in property in some way, shape, or form, which we'll go into more detail. But you didn't kill you.
No,
You're still here to tell the tale.
If anything, if you lose $100,000 on a property, you've got no fucking choice but to keep doing property because you ain't going to get it in your bar job. So it was almost like, well, you're in it now. But yeah, it was the second deal. The first deal I did was a block of flats, standard for my personality type. But that went really well. And I was, I think, 22, 23. And it was like, told you all, I know it. This after doing a free 3-day course or whatever. Thought I knew everything. The first one went really well, as they accidentally do sometimes.
Tell me a little bit about the first one.
It was a block of 4 flats in Hastings. My parents were looking at, or I think they had a caravan there, just like a holiday thing. And they were like, the prices are super cheap here. So I was working at the airport at this time in freight. Going to that another day. But yeah, that forced me into property doing that job. But in the downtime, I was looking it up, and it was in the middle of a regeneration project. It was ticking all these boxes, and we did the usual, walking along the streets, ringing up the boards outside, speaking to agents, doing all of that stuff. And we got a call back from a woman. She went, "Oh, don't go for that one, but I have got one that's not on the market yet." And I think this is literally like the course told me. And it was off market. The owner wanted to sell. He was pretty decent with the price. I think we bought it for $250K, 4 flats. There was 3 1-beds and a 2-bed. We then moved the kitchens into living rooms, and then created the second bedroom. So we ended up with 3 2-beds and a 1-bed.
Nice.
I think we spent $80K from memory, and then revalued at $360. And remortgaged on that basis. We later sold for $480, I think, about 3 or 4 years ago. But yeah, it went relatively well. I quit my job halfway through it. I was going there.
I'm going to be a millionaire.
Yeah. Well, it was more like the job I was in genuinely was as close to depression as I'd ever like to be.
What was it?
I was working at the airport at Heathrow, freight forwarder. I was sat in the office. Cycling to work for the 7 o'clock start, and I finished at 7 o'clock that evening, shift work. They then moved my shift, and I was doing 2 days, 2 nights, 4 off. So it was 7 at night till 7 in the morning shifts. Done me completely. So I was like, right, said to my wife, I'm going to go there for 3 days a week, and I'm going to project manage these things with no experience in it whatsoever. But I was there painting, I was there doing it all, and it worked out. But that gave me the false confidence to go bigger. So yeah, it was a nightmare.
And then leading well into the nightmare.
Yeah.
The second deal, so tell us about that.
Yeah, so that was a block of 10 flats and a shop in the town centre of Hastings, on the corner. So it had all sea views from all the units. You could see it from pretty much the whole of the high street.
Which just sounds like an absolute stunner of a building.
Yeah, grade 2 listed. Problem
wow.
1 that I didn't realise, right? So there's your first one. The second one, it was the agent that had given us the first one who sorted it all. So we got a delayed completion of 6 months to do the works. I did the works with a little bit of money that we had, right? So I'm doing the works illegally on a grade 2 listed building, unknowingly to me, doing the works badly. And at the end of the 6 months, when we got it valued, it was worth $720, and we agreed to buy it at $750. So we were undervalued with the money we spent and time and all the rest of it, and we were under pressure to get it bought. So the option was give it back to them and lose the 75 grand plus the works and all the costs of legals and stuff. And it kind of left it open that they could have potentially sued us for more. Loss of opportunity, blah, blah, blah. Whether that would have happened or not. But I decided just to go for it chucked it all in auction and kind of realised the loss. So yeah, that was the big one, and I remember it vividly, driving along in the van along the every day that I was there trying to rescue this thing. I remember being on the seafront and just this feeling in my stomach of like, oh shit. And very quickly the ego disappeared, and I was humbled very quickly, and that's carried me through the last 10 years. You know, that I'm hyper aware of borrowing people's money and making sure that their money is like my money and it is safe. In fact, it's not like my money. I'd take more risk with my own money because it's my money. It's my decision.
Yeah. You can live with the loss.
Yeah, it was a horrible feeling that I wouldn't like to feel ever again. We were lucky enough that the first project did well, so we secured the investors' money against that one, and we came up with a payment structure. So they got their money back. They didn't lose their money, but we did. Essentially, we lost our profit in deal one. So when we sold that was kind of when we managed to pay them back and stuff, and we were paying them part of the monthlies ongoing, whatever. But, you know, we've lost money since. We did a serviced accommodation deal where the owner had skips in the back, which caused rats, which meant that we got bad reviews and we had boilers breaking down and all these problems. But we had a 5-year lease on it, on a rent-to-rent. And she decided to take us to court when we stopped paying. So we ended up, I think it was 60 grand.
The landlady took you because on rent to
because we stopped paying in the end because we weren't getting any money in because we couldn't, because the reviews are so bad because of stuff that she had done. But yeah, that ended up being, we settled out of court because we didn't want the stress of going through court. Absolutely. Whether we would win or not, who knew? So we settled out of court, and it was an investor that came in as a joint venture partner. So he was a director of that business. So he was equally liable to me and my brother. However, it didn't sit well with me that he was a silent partner, had nothing to do with the running, nothing to do with that. He just looked at the numbers I gave him, and we'd worked together before, and he trusted me. So I said he would get paid back, in which he has. So again, it's like, and I get the value of that now, those things, because if anyone was to ask him, have you worked with Jack Wicks before? He'd say, yeah, it didn't go well, but... And that's a big difference. That's what happens in property, which is wrong when people go and bury their head in the sand and shit goes wrong and disappear. That's a problem. You losing other people's money is not right. And however long it takes, I think if it would have taken me 20 years to get his money back and I got it back, he would have been grateful and appreciated that shit does go wrong. But as long as you remedy it somehow, in some way, then it is what it is, you know.
So what about the fact of, hey, you lent me money though, and you wanted a return, and there's obviously some risk, there's no guaranteed return. Because if you had to do that on a scalable level, it's like, well, I've got to pay all these people back. Is there anything that ever comes into your mind thinking like, actually there's a line and these people are in the same boat as me, and they should appreciate that I'm out there trying to make returns, and I've got a pretty good track record of doing it, and sometimes shit doesn't go right, and I can't pay everybody back every single time. Does that ever kind of cross your mind?
No, not for me. No, I think it depends on the level of involvement, though. You know, if it's you and I going into a deal, you bring the money and I bring the deal, but you're still making decisions and there's joint decisions happening, then yeah, if it goes wrong, then it's a joint decision. He was putting the money in silently. He had no decision being made. Every decision was mine. Every penny spent, everything was being done by me and my brother. So he had nothing to do with it. He could have made a different decision that might have meant that we didn't get to that situation, but he wasn't given the opportunity. So for me, it would have been just not the right thing to do.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, look, it's actually very noble if you can do that. I just always think there's I think there's a line, like it certainly depends on who the investor is as well. If that's kind of like, you've taken their life savings, or they're pretty tight as it is and they couldn't really afford to lose that money. I'd feel very, very bad about taking it, about losing it for them.
And like I say, it depends on the situation. If you go into a flip deal and the market tanks and you have to sell at a loss, that's the market, right? Then that's a different scenario. Exactly. When there's innate, again, the mistakes yeah, I mean,
Some
in that
things are out of your
situation,
control. Some things are out of your control.
Well,
is what I'm saying.
it kind of was, but ultimately I got into that, and I just felt it was the right thing to do.